everyone, and welcome back to Explore with NTV. I'm Nadira, and I hope that everyone is all safe and happy, and that you guys are ready to explore a new educational topic. So Tasbi is going to be explaining what we're going to be doing in today's episode.
Hello friends, like Nadira said, I'm going to be explaining what the topic is about. The topic is called jobs, and we're going to be talking about future jobs that you might have when you grow up and the economy. I also wanted to add that it doesn't matter what job you do, but it matters if you do it with dedication, integrity and honesty.
Yeah, that's really important, and obviously all jobs that we do all benefit the economy. You know, we all contribute to the economy, so that means if you are hardworking in your job, then you are doing something really, really well.
Yeah, good job, well done.
Yeah. Another thing that's also important is that if you don't know exactly what job you want to do right now, that's okay, because you have so much time to think about all of those things.
And make it perfect.
Yeah. Another thing that's also important is that all of our jobs are something that, you know, we might have to associate with success, but actually, if you enjoy your job and you are hardworking at it, then I think you are a very successful person.
Yeah, and if you work hard at it, you'll obviously be successful, and that's also, to help that, you don't have to like it, but like it in your own way.
Yeah. So I see that we actually have Flora with us. Hi, Flora.
Hi, everyone.
How are you?
I'm wonderfully, especially great.
Ooh. So, Flora, are you excited to learn about the economy and jobs?
Yes, very interesting.
And what are some of your hobbies or favorite activities?
Dancing.
Ooh.
Ooh, yes. Flora, why do you like dancing? I like dancing because it's fun, especially with 4 arms.
Ooh, that's true.
If you could have a job, what would it be? It would be to work at McDonald's so I could eat all the chips secretly. What are the personalities of a good worker? The personalities of a good worker, from my point of view, would be dedication, integrity, honesty, and liking your job. Wow, you read our minds!
Thank you so much, Flora. I found all of your answers really, really insightful.
Yeah.
So, Tasbi, let's talk a bit about you and us. So what are some of your current interests in terms of jobs?
Well, some of my current interests is being a doctor or a scientist.
Ooh.
What about you, Nadira?
I would say I don't exactly have a particular job role that I think I would want to do, but definitely I love the concept of media and new media, digital technologies. That's actually why I study digital culture for my degree.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, what are some of the things that you would want to do in the future then?
Well, some jobs that I'd want to do in the future is the job would be to be a doctor. That's my main.
Is there anything else that you want to do in the future?
Well, I already told you, be a scientist.
Yeah, so I guess those jobs help people, so that's really important to you, right?
Yeah. How about you?
I would say one thing that I would really love to do in the future, this isn't exactly job related, but it's also to travel. I'd really hope to travel a lot more, go to different countries. I think that's really exciting, and I didn't get the opportunity to do that before, so perhaps with my job or just generally in my personal life, I'd love to do that.
Yeah.
And what type of job in the future would you want? Are there any other types of jobs that you like?
Mathematician, maybe?
Ooh.
Yeah, because I really like maths.
Oh, do you? I remember really liking maths as well. And so, who inspires you to work hard? Obviously, becoming a doctor would be a lot of work, so you would have to work really, really hard. What inspires you?
Well, a famous person would be Florence Nightingale, and my mother, she wanted to become a doctor, but she couldn't be a doctor. Well, because she wanted to be a doctor, and then she took NTV as well.
Oh, okay.
But she really wanted to be a doctor.
So I guess your family really inspires you, as well as some famous people that you know
Yeah.
or that you've heard of. Yeah. And did you ever change your mind about wanting to be a doctor?
Well, first I wanted to be a doctor, then a scientist, then a mathematician, then an engineer, then I went back to being a doctor very recently.
Oh, wow. That's very similar with me. I always wanted to be an architect originally. I thought that science and art were very interesting subjects, and I thought that architecture combines both of them. But I then later changed my mind, maybe about a year ago actually, to wanting to do something related to media instead.
Wow. What skills would you like to develop from doing something in the media?
I would say one huge thing that I think is important, and this might be a transferable skill to other fields, is teamwork and communication. I love working with lots of people, and I think it's always really fun to be in a group and work together. And communication, because I think that being able to communicate with others is an important part of teamwork.
Yeah, and you can learn from others.
Yeah, that's important as well.
How can our friends learn what career they'd want to be when they grow up?
I would say that one is, if you're a bit older, then maybe you should go to your school or college and try and find like a careers counselor maybe to discuss your ideas about what you like and what you don't like, so that they can help you with your career. And another thing that's also important is for you to do research and find out what there is and what opportunities there are available, so that you can get maybe work experience or internships.
Yeah.
So that's all of our general questions, and I want to know a bit more about the economy and the types of jobs that are available. So, Tasbi, do you know what capitalism is?
Capitalism is about choice, freedom, and competition in the market.
Yeah.
Yes.
So capitalism, I guess, is the current economic system that we have in Britain, and it's actually found in lots of different Western countries.
Yeah. What is the Industrial Revolution, and why is it so important?
So the Industrial Revolution actually happened in Britain right here. And so the Industrial Revolution was the use of machines into work, and that changed the nature of work.
Yeah.
So, other than that, do you know when the Industrial Revolution actually began?
Well, some people say 740 to 1860.
Yeah.
And then probably 1780 to 1850.
And why do you think there's that variation?
Maybe because some people didn't actually know. Some people might think it's then, and some people might there. Because it matters which one was older, because they would have known more.
Yeah, and so many things were happening at that time, so it was quite hard to tell exactly the starting point of the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah.
And so, do you know what automation is and why people are scared of it?
Well, people are scared of it. Well, firstly, it's about robots taking over jobs, and people are scared of it because we've made something called library, and the library has lots of information in it, and robots can learn from that, and it's not good if robots learn too much.
Because then they would obviously take over other people's jobs and they wouldn't have work to do.
Yeah, and they wouldn't get enough money from their jobs.
It's especially a huge concern because we have such a growing population, right? So many people are in the world, and that increases competition. So if you add robots into that, then there's so many people that you need to compete with to get a job.
Yeah, and it's very hard.
Yeah, it would be very hard.
Actually get the heart of your boss. So,
and so, do you know what the knowledge economy is and how people are affected by that?
Well, people are more focused on ideas and knowledge more
Yeah.
than physical work.
Yeah.
So that's what it's about.
Mm.
But let's know a bit more about the knowledge economy. What is it?
So the knowledge economy is this theory. It doesn't actually, it's not a physical thing that exists. It's a concept. And so it's this idea that companies now value, again, just like how you said, the idea of knowledge and ideas, sharing those ideas instead of, manual labor like mining, for instance. Like the highest paying jobs would be in the knowledge economy and as a knowledge worker.
Yeah. When did the information age begin?
So the information age, similar to the industrial age, it's a bit more nuanced than that because the information age began with the internet, and the internet didn't become public until after the war, the Cold War. So the actual formation of the internet was originally called the ARPANET, and that happened in the 1960s.
Yeah. How does education change as jobs are changing?
So similar to, I'm a perfect example of that, digital culture as a degree, it didn't exist 10 years ago, did it?
No.
No one's really heard of that degree. It's very new, and that's because jobs are changing, and so you need educated people to understand those jobs and apply those their skills to those particular new jobs.
Yeah.
And so, what about lockdown? How has that affected work?
It's affected work by makes more people work from home, and it might take longer, so they might have to get used to it a lot.
And so,
Yeah.
do you have any more questions for me?
Well, no, but that was very informative.
Yeah, I learned
because
so
it's-
much from you,
yeah.
Tasbih.
And it's like a whole book of information on jobs.
And actually, all of this information can also be found again on the internet, so it's important for other people to also do their research about jobs. Not only that, but also how the economy is changing.
Yeah. Now we have to go to our break, so bye, see you after the break.
Bye, everyone!
Hello friends, welcome back after the break. In this segment, we normally read books, so let's start. Nadira, you start first. So I know you want to say something else before you read the book, so
Yeah, I do. I actually remember writing this about when I was 15 maybe, and I was doing my GCSEs, and I wanted to motivate myself so that I could feel a bit more confident about doing them, and also just to have a bit more positivity about the future. So this is actually an extract from my diary. Dear Nadira, I hope you have a successful future and that you become an amazing architect. I want you to do really well in your GCSEs, and I'm currently working on my coursework for product design, and the most recent thing that I have done is my Spanish speaking exam, and that was really difficult. I hope that you do really well in Spanish, and so that you can do that for college. Hopefully you will enjoy college and you'll make lots of new friends too. College is a new start, so make sure you make the most of it. Good luck. Love, Nadira.
wow, that's really sweet.
Yeah, I think definitely I always do that when I am feeling a bit down and I want to give myself a bit more hope for the future. Yeah.
Maybe you can hang it up on your wall.
Yeah, I actually have, obviously this is from my diary, and I have a little box in my room that has all of my other diaries. I also do like video messages to myself, where like I record myself. It's kind of like a video diary.
Yeah.
Have you ever done those?
I've heard of them.
I really enjoy doing them. I feel like it gives me a lot of motivation for like my career, just for the future in general, my exams, things like that.
Yeah. Now let's get on to your books.
Yeah, so I think I would like to read this book.
Ooh, looks interesting.
So we've seen this book before. It's called Children's British History Encyclopedia.
That's where I remembered it.
Yeah. So let's have a bit of a read of this book. Trade and Industry. In 1858, Benjamin Disraeli called Britain the workshop of the world. Both trade and industry were booming. About one quarter of the world's trade passed through British ports, and most of it was carried by British ships. By the middle of the 19th century, over 90% of the exports from Britain were goods manufactured in British factories. Most important to the exports were textiles. By 1830, they made up 75% of Britain's exports, and half of this amount was cotton goods. Raw cotton was imported from North America and turned into cloth in factories and mills in northern Britain. It was exported either as cloth or manufactured as cheap goods. Many of these cotton goods were sold in India. So that's interesting. So textiles was really important in giving people jobs. You know, there was lots of factories that had textile workers.
Yeah, and you get, the more jobs you have, the more money you get.
Yeah. So it was a good thing that it gave people lots of jobs in the textile
also,
industry.
And it's also important to keep your job because sometimes you might like it.
The amount of railway tracks in Britain increased rapidly in the 19th century. The railways revolutionized travel, providing cheap and efficient transport across the country. Soon, British engineers and technology was being used in many countries overseas for railway building projects. From the 1840s, iron became a major British export, much of it destined to the construction of railways in other nations around the globe. The introduction of free trade in the middle of the 19th century also helped boost British commerce abroad. Many years, British products had been protected by charging duties, so in other words, that's tax, on goods imported overseas. These duties were gradually removed by successive governments, making important raw materials such as cotton a lot cheaper. The event that best showed the power of the British trade and industry was the Great Exhibition in 1851. It displayed the finest British technology and engineering, providing Britain's leadership in the industry at the time.
Yeah.
So that's really important, I guess, in that sense that Britain was actually a leading player in giving people jobs and also providing technology for others to use.
Yeah, that's very important to get technology so you can learn more in the internet as well as books.
So canals and railways. In 1761, an 11-kilometre canal was opened between Worsley and Manchester. It was planned and paid for by wealthy Dukes of Bridgewater. The Duke owned coal mines in Worsley and was carrying the coals for about 11 kilometres from Worsley to Manchester by road, and that was very expensive. After opening from the Bridgewater Canal, he was able to use these transports to control his coal at a much lower price. The success of his canal aroused a lot of interest. Soon, landowners and business people around the country were forming companies around this area to raise money and build canals, linking towns and cities together. So this is, again, really important, the idea that transport actually helped businesses provide their services and goods to other places, isn't it?
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit more about the trading nation. Daniel Diouf, written in 1720s, described Britain as the most flourishing and affluent country in the world. And so it must have seemed, as communications with Britain improved and trade outside of Britain continued to expand in the 18th century. Trade within Britain and at the opening of the 18th century still depended largely on markets and fairs. In London, there was a large specialised market, Billingsgate Fish, Smitherfield's Meat, and Covent Garden Vegetables. Oh, have you ever been to those places?
Well, I don't.
Covent Garden? That's for vegetables. I remember going to Billingsgate Fish Market.
Oh.
That was actually a trip that I went to from my primary school.
Oh.
It was very funny, actually. We went to the fish market and we saw all the different types of fish there.
Oh,
So
can you name one?
I remember learning about catfish. Yeah, and there was like loads of pictures of them all around the walls and stuff. It was very informative. So I guess in that sense, the trading nation was really important, and things like that we have today, like Billingsgate Fish Market, have had a huge impact historically.
Yeah. History is important.
And now we see some of the effects today, like how there's still some of the same businesses.
Yeah.
As demand for imports such as tobacco and sugar rose, ports along the west coast of Britain flourished. Bristol, Liverpool and Glasgow all expanded rapidly. In the 1700s, Liverpool had a population of about 5,000 people.
Wow.
100 years later, it was a major transatlantic port with a population of over 80,000 people.
Wow. That's a lot.
5,000 to 80,000.
Wow, lots of people must like that.
Yeah, wow. Many goods that were imported, such as tobacco, tea, coffee, or sugar, were re-exported to other destinations in Europe. In addition, exports of manufactured goods of British colonies, for example, Northern America, became an increasingly valuable market. However, throughout the 18th century, Britain's most important exports were textiles. So again, textiles was really key in this time period. You know, cloth that was very heavily traded. The manufacture of woolen textiles was centered in the West Country, East Anglia and Yorkshire. But after the 1780s, cotton manufacture became replaced with wool. Cotton was to play a major role in the Industrial Revolution in Britain.
Oh. Cotton must have been very, very important then.
Yeah, it was very important. So let's talk a little bit more about the modern age. We've been talking a lot about the past, haven't we? So let's see what the modern age has to offer in terms of jobs. The modern age. As the 20th century dawned, Queen Victoria was in her 63rd year on the throne. Despite the competition from the other imperial powers, Britain remained to be the center of and the largest empire in the world ever known, covering land 1/5 of the planet's land surface. Oh wow, that means the British Empire was really big.
Yeah. Wow.
Motor cars were still an unusual sight on the streets of Britain. Most British men would vote, but the right for women to vote was denied still. As the century progressed, many things were also changed.
Oh.
So I guess during the modern age, another thing that changed was women's rights, you know? So women getting jobs and women also being able to vote.
I mean, men might be stronger, but women, they're like kind of at the same level if they're trained.
And also in terms of the economy, if we think about it, women working would benefit the because it's half the population. Imagine half the population not working, you know?
Oh my.
Yeah. So that's really interesting, and I really enjoyed that. What book would you like to read, Tasbih?
This one. We've already read this too, so yeah. So Yusra Mandini, a swimmer. Once in Damascus, Syria, there was a swimmer called Yusra. Every day she and her sister trained with her dad at the local swimming pool. Syria was at war. And one day a bomb was dropped on the swimming pool. Luckily, Yusra was not there at the time. Shortly afterward, her house was destroyed by another bomb. It was another narrow escape. All of a sudden, Yusra and her family had nothing left and nowhere to live, so they decided to flee the country. Yusra had heard that Germany was a good place for swimmers. The journey was long and getting there would be hard, but Yusra did not put that off. She and her sister joined a group of other refugees for a month-long journey across several countries and then on board a rubber dinghy to the island of Lesbos. The boat was only meant for 6 or 7 people and there were 20 crammed on board. Suddenly the motor broke down. We can't die at sea, Yusra thought. We are swimmers. And so she jumped into the water with her sister and another boy. They kicked and swam and dragged and pushed the boat for more than 3 hours until they finally reached the shore. When they reached Germany, the first question Yusra asked was, "Where can I find a swimming club?" Not only did she find one in 2016, she was part of a refugee team ever to complete in the Olympics.
Wow, that was really good story.
Yeah, and I think it's about dedication for what you love.
So she's obviously a really good worker.
Yeah.
Now that's all that we have for this segment, and now it's for the break. So bye everyone.
Bye, see you after this segment, after the break.
And welcome back from the break. So this is the final segment of the episode and we have a very wonderful guest with us. His name is Jamil. And so, hi, how are you?
Hello, thanks for having me.
We very appreciate that you are joining us today and we would like to ask you a few questions just to get to know you a bit better.
Sure, no problem.
So, what is your job and where do you work?
So I am an electrical engineer and I work in London, working for an engineering company who do projects in the oil and gas industry.
Okay, so what is the best part about your job?
I think the best part of my job is the people I get to work with. Very talented people. All from different backgrounds of engineering, and also I think the opportunities to travel for work is also really good.
So, other than your career, what are other things that are important to you in your life?
I guess I have to say my family to start, and also my health and general well-being. Spending time with family and friends is very important.
Yeah. It's good to have that work-life balance.
Yeah.
Yes.
What did you study at university?
So I studied, I've got a master's in electrical engineering from Bath University.
And what would you say, what point in your life did you feel like a proper adult?
Good question. I think first time I realised I was an adult was probably when I first got my driving licence, which was fun. And then probably when I got my first job and started earning some money. Those 2 points are very key.
Yeah, they give you a good sense of independence, and I guess that's what
Absolutely, exactly.
being an adult can be defined as.
Yeah, it's very good.
What are some of your other career goals?
For me at the moment is to maybe travel a bit more, go to see some other countries in the world and maybe work there, and also just to progress my career, maybe change positions move up the ladder possibly. So fingers crossed.
And so, what keeps you motivated to do all of your work? Obviously, you must have quite a hard, stressful job.
It can be. I think to keep myself motivated, I think you try and keep things interesting. So you try and challenge yourself with different topics. Try and get into different things that you haven't done before. So you're not doing the same thing over and over again. It's very varied, and that keeps it really interesting, I think.
Yeah, and it's good to keep your goals high.
Yeah.
What
Absolutely.
are some of your hobbies?
My hobbies, I used to play a bit of football. I've gone through different sports, basketball, football, badminton. These days it's a bit more difficult to play sports, so it's not so much these days, but I hope to go back into playing some sports in the near future once the pandemic is over.
Yeah, it's good to keep healthy. Again, what you said, health is really important to you.
Exactly, yeah.
As an adult, how do you manage your finances and your savings?
It's tricky, I guess. I guess you got to keep an eye on what you're earning, what your income is, and make sure you're spending sort of, not too much or beyond your capabilities or capacity, and just hoping, just keeping an eye in general, and making sure you've got enough at the end of the day for your daily spends and whatever you want to spend your money on.
Yeah.
Why should people continue learning?
People should continue learning because we're on this planet for one reason, right? To live and to learn and to experience things. So I think it's very important to take the time to learn things. It keeps life more interesting that way, and more experience gives you wisdom at the end of the day. We all want wisdom. I think it's a natural thing to obtain. So I think learning is very important and to keep progressing.
And so, in your job, what are some of the things that you've learned, or maybe some of the skills that you've developed?
I think one of the key things for people like myself who work in office environments is to communicate well. So talking and listening, and also working in teams is very important.
So thank you. I think everyone can safely say that we know a lot about you and that we have very much engaged with some of the more personal aspects of your life and your career. But since today's episode is about the economy and jobs, we'd like to ask you a few more questions about your advice potentially, and in terms of what you would be able to give advice for in terms of the younger generation getting a bit of inspiration.
Yeah, no problem.
What practical advice would you give to a young person that perhaps doesn't know exactly what job they want to have in the future?
I think write down the key things that you enjoy. Look at your own values. Do you like being close to home? Do you like problem solving? What kind of tasks do you enjoy? Do you enjoy working in teams? Take a note of things you like and see what career paths. Try and use those interests that you have and possibly your strengths in certain areas, and try to follow your natural ability to pursue a career in that sort of work path.
Yeah. Do you have any tips about how to use network?
How to network? Networking is very important, especially in the society that we live in. It helps with obviously career development. So I think it's making sure you're taking opportunities. If you get an opportunity to join a group or a society, then take those opportunities. If you get invited to go along with some people to an activity, then attend. Because once you're in those environments, you can meet new people who are maybe not in your regular circle, and it branches out, and then you always have those contacts, and they could one day be very helpful to you.
And so me and Tasbih were talking a lot about automation and this idea of robots doing lots of jobs for humans. How has that affected your career? What are your thoughts on the concept of automation?
Yeah, I think it definitely has affected my career. We've gone from a very laborious sort of manual labor tasks to more automated tasks, which it does take away some element of our work, but at the same time, it's making things easier for us and simpler for us. Less human error. I'll give you an example: is drawings. We do a lot of drawings in engineering. Traditionally, it used to be hand drawn, and now we use electronic packages, drawing packages like CAD, for example.
What is your advice on how to increase savings?
I think we all want to increase our savings. I think best thing is to save some to start off with, and try and keep that saving aside without you going into it and touching it. Don't withdraw from it, and possibly put in a savings account where you can earn some interest. I think that's pretty much I can advise, really. I mean, if you can go into things like properties and things afterwards, then perfect. You can use those savings and invest that.
And so, now that you're an adult, what advice would you give to your younger self, maybe your university self, about the advice about careers and the future?
I think I'll tell myself to read more books, I think, because I didn't read enough books at school and at university. And also take the time to push yourselves, push your boundaries, try new experiences as much as possible.
And so thank you so much for those answers. I found them very informative. But now it's time for the quiz.
Yes. No.
Oh, excellent.
So this is going to be a quick quiz, and it's going to be all multiple choice.
Yeah.
So, what of the following children's books were not in the Industrial Revolution? Oliver Twist, A Christmas Carol, or Murder on Orient Express?
Ooh. So this is where I wish I did a bit more reading. I would guess, probably not the right answer, but I know about Oliver Twist, so I'll say Oliver Twist.
The actual correct answer is Murder on the Orient Express. So again, the question was not in the Industrial Revolution. They are very, obviously, like we talked about, it has a very ambiguous time period. So, yeah.
Which of the following inventions are most famously related to the Industrial Revolution? Option 1, steam engine. Option 2, dynamite. Option 3, sewing machine.
I think this one has to be the steam engine.
That's correct.
That's right. So just like we were talking about, transport was a really big part in the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah.
So the next question is, which of the following famous economists were born during the Industrial Revolution, or before the Industrial Revolution? Adam Smith, Karl Marx, or John Stuart Mill?
I'll take a guess and go with the first one, Adam Smith.
Yeah, that's right.
correct.
Actually, Adam Smith is a very famous economist, and he was known for writing the book, The Wealth of Nations.
When was the term automation first used? Option 1, 1946. Option 2, 1949. Option 3, 1952.
Option 1.
That's correct. Wow.
Yeah, so actually automation was first coined by engineers that worked in Ford, so that's the car company, like automobile, kind of like that.
Yeah.
So jumping closer to the present, when was the internet invented? In 1950, 1960, or 1970?
I would guess it was a bit later, so I'd say 1970s.
Actually, it's 1960s, and that's because it was during the Cold War when it was first invented. So overall, I would say you did really well on the quiz, and
I think you only got one question, or one or two.
yeah, so you did really well. And so we have one more final question. It's the most difficult one. And so Tasbih, do you want to read it out?
Yeah. Which of the following knowledge-based companies is owned by Bill Gates? Option 1, Facebook. Option 2, Windows. Option 3, Apple.
I'd say Windows.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, Bill Gates is a very famous and very rich person. So that's all that we have for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you to Jamil for being with us. So goodbye, everyone.
Bye. See you in the next
you.
episode.
Bye.